Yeah, it is, but I love your ride. I mean, this is sweet. This is dynamite.
It's kind of a
I'm jealous.
60s hot rod. Wait, can I get you a Pepsi?
Sure. Yeah, let's go for
Like
it.
orange or Pepsi?
I'll take an orange.
All right.
Well, you got some great stuff on the walls here.
A lot of good old hot rods.
Yeah, brings back memories.
Here you go.
All right, thank you, sir.
Sure thing.
Thank you, sir.
Pepsi. Well, let's go on inside. It's rather warm in here.
Okay. I'll follow you. How's that?
Right, over here.
The Red Baron, Iced Tea, Paddy Wagon, Tijuana Taxi. For anyone growing up in the late 60s and early 70s, these images bring back a floodgate of memories. Tom Daniel, an industrial designer by trade, created 75 classic Monogram models, many that have been reissued time after time. Tom is one of the most creative hot rod and custom designers of the 20th century. If you remember building and enjoying Tom's designs, or if you're a new TD fan, sit back, relax, and enjoy. Tom Daniel, the man behind the models.
Well, Tom, thanks for coming over today. As you can see, we've got quite a collection here. I've been collecting your models, well, originally as a kid, back in the late 60s. But before we talk about some of the old designs you did for Monogram, let's go back. How did you get started in drawing cars and designing cars in the first place?
You know, I think what happened was I was in high school. I was just in high school after World War II had been over a little bit, but the hot rod scene had started to really take off in this country. During the war, of course, everything was rationed, and gasoline, tires, cars. I mean, you know, after the war, the hot rod thing just kind of blossomed, and it blossomed in Los Angeles and around where I was in Huntington Park especially. And there was a lot of custom cars on the street. They used to ride in.
Was this during high school? Were you in high school at this time?
Yeah, I was a freshman and sophomore. It was a 4-year high school. And this was close to some of the main customizing that was being done in the LA area at the time. So I'm sure that's what really influenced me early on.
So you got out of high school and then what?
Well, before I got out of high school, I had transferred to another school, which fortunately had a really hip art teacher. And he saw that I liked to design cars. And he set up a field trip to a school called Art Center, which I went to in my junior year in high school. And that just set me right in orbit. I saw on the walls were fantastic cars that the students were designing, and I said, boy, that's what I want to do. So I spent my whole senior year drawing wild cars, not wild cars, but futuristic cars. And
now, what year was this?
Well, that was in 53, 54.
Okay,
era.
So pretty early, before a lot of people were doing anything like this.
Well, that I knew of, but as I say, when I went to Art Center, I saw some people there that were doing them for sure. There wasn't a lot, but it was enough that it really got me going. And General Motors, I decided I wanted to work for General Motors rather than Ford for some reason. I don't know why. Mm-hmm. But that pretty much is what ignited me on this career in automobile design.
Now, did you have to be accepted to the Art Center?
Yes, I did. I lucked out there again. I had no junior college experience or other college experience, which they required, actually. But the portfolio that I did apparently impressed them enough that I was accepted. And, of course, I had a cash, too, but I did make it in there as a freshman.
Now, was that like a 2-year course or 4-year course?
4-year school.
Mm-hmm. So what did they start teaching you right off the bat? What was the first?
It was all fundamentals. It was everything from perspective theory and color theory and basic drawing skills, how to really hold a pencil properly. I mean, you don't just draw with a pencil. You have to twirl it a little bit as you're drawing a line, especially if you're drawing a hood line or a line you want to stay crisp. Otherwise, that pencil head will flatten out and you'll get a thin to thick lines.
Mm-hmm. So while you were going to art school, I guess you did some work for Rod and Custom magazine? Yeah,
luckily I was always looking for little side jobs. You know, the tuition in those days is nothing like today, but to me it was astronomical. So I was always looking for side work, and a friend of mine who had done some work for Peterson's magazine, Rod and Custom mainly, kind of turned me on to the editor there, and he'd seen some of my little car designs and said, okay, and that kind of went from there.
Mm-hmm. Do you remember what you were paid for your first design?
Oh, yeah, it was about $50 a page.
Mm-hmm. Well, that helped getting you through school and everything.
Bought some pencils and paper and whatnot, and some paint.
So after graduation, what happened?
Well, I did graduate, which was fortunate. that was a tough 4 years, I got to tell you. That was it was all a grind. And fortunately, General Motors came out. They had a representative come out to the school to interview students, and they happened to like what I was doing, and I was hired by General Motors, and that was a dream come true. I mean, that was just on cloud nine.
You hit the lottery.
I hit the lottery. You got it.
How did you end up over at Monogram?
Well, I wasn't actually with Monogram. I, due to some family circumstances, was back on the West Coast. I hooked back up with Rod and Custom magazine and was writing articles on designing customs and customizing models. Actually, they came out with Rod and Custom Models magazine about that time. And that's really what led to all the thing with Monogram. Monogram had been into the slot car phenomenon at the time and sent slot cars out for review, some of which I did, and they saw my drawings and designs on the magazine and the pages of Sketchpad and liked them, and that just kind of hooked up with the owners, and boy, we went from there.
Now, do you remember what your first design for Monogram was?
Some people say it's the Beer Wagon, some people say it's the Red Baron, and my own leaning is that it was the Red Baron. I could be wrong.
Now, did they say, Tom, we want you to design this wild car, or did you say, hey, let me design something for you? I mean, how'd that work?
Basically, I was just free to roam, generally. Every once in a while, there would be a theme like the garbage truck. They said, well, let's do a garbage truck. And okay, a garbage truck. And the same thing with the Beer Wagon. They said, we want to do something with the Mack Bulldog. And they didn't know what. In 1/24 scale, when I first started drawing the cab on this thing, and I thought, hey, this thing is huge. So I called them up. I said, look, we're going to have a monstrous 24 scale kit. And they said, well, shrink it down. So this is what I did. But generally with Monogram, it was whatever ideas I came up with, and I just ran with them.
Tom, the Red Baron Showcar is one of the most popular designs that you ever designed. Now, how did you come up with that?
Well, that's a good question. It was kind of two things that were elements. At the time, the surfing craze was big. Surfing and the surf helmet. For some reason, the old German helmet from World War I and II was, surfers were wearing that. Was a surf helmet. And I always thought the design was kind of neat anyway. And what really led to the design of the Baron was that somehow I looked at the T-bucket, the body of a T-bucket in the helmet, and I thought, that would fit on a T-bucket if it was modified. It would make a really kind of unique hot rod with this little helmet on top. And basically, that's what happened. And the German theme, I thought, well, gee, let's, instead of putting a Ford or a Chevy motor in it, how about let's put a German aircraft motor in it?
Seems natural. Which
was neat. The only thing was that when I went down to Orange County Museum, where there actually was a German aircraft engine like that, it's about 8 feet long. So I had to shrink that down and fit it. And I put on some other old German things like the canteen gas tank on the back and the little Spandau machine guns. The other thing at the time, I don't know if you probably don't remember. Well, maybe you do, because you were a little guy then, though, right? But the Red Baron, the Bloody Red Baron, the song was a big hit then.
With the Peanuts popularity.
Yeah, right. So that's basically where that came from. So it was just kind of a unique thing that happened at the right time, I suppose.
In 1993, Mattel reissued 8 of the most popular Hot Wheels from the Red Line era in accordance with their 25th anniversary. And 2 of the 8 reissued were Tom Daniel designs, the Paddy Wagon and the Red Baron.